Considering discussions about future space colonies and cities on Mars, there is a significant likelihood that someday people will be born beyond Earth, raising some intriguing questions. What will it be like? How will childbirth in space differ? And ultimately, what will Martian children born in low gravity look like? Subscribe, like, and let's get started.
Hobblocks.
More than 60 women have traveled to space, but none of them have been pregnant during the flight, let alone given birth in microgravity conditions. Scientists have studied pregnant animals in space, including salamanders, fish, and rats, but not humans. If women were to live in space on a permanent basis someday, some pregnancy risks would be much higher than on Earth. The most obvious difference is the low gravity, and without the assistance of Earth's gravitational pull, it would be more difficult to push the baby out. Additionally, without the influence of Earth's gravity, women's bones would lose density. Research shows that astronauts, for example, lose 1 to 2% of bone density for each month spent in space, and this is particularly important during childbirth, as it could lead to pelvic fractures. In fact, doctors recommend that women with fragile bones avoid natural childbirth altogether, which could mean that childbirth in space would only be possible through a C-section. Weightlessness can also affect the cardiovascular system, bone tissue, muscles, and other organs both for the mother and the fetus. This can complicate the childbirth process and increase the risk of complications. Risks are also heightened due to limited medical capabilities in space. Preparing for childbirth in low gravity will also require special medical training for both the mother and medical personnel. Moreover, childbirth is already a significant stressor for expectant mothers, and the stress associated with being in space can add extra emotional strain to a woman's nervous system and have serious psychological consequences. Although childbirth in low gravity has not yet been conducted, it continues to be of interest to researchers and the medical community in light of future space missions and long-term human presence in space. Alright, we've covered childbirth, so how will children born in low gravity differ from Earth-born children? Scott Solomon, an evolutionary biologist and professor at Rice University, says space could due to generations of people born in low gravity conditions. We already know that how we give birth affects our anatomy. For example, the size of our heads is limited by the size of our mother's birth canals. That is, if we start doing more C-sections, it could lead to larger heads for our descendants because they won't be limited by the size of birth canals. And in the future, this won't be the only significant change. We can also change color, says Solomon. That's because in space we have less protection from harmful cosmic radiation, such as cosmic rays, so to counteract this, we can evolve. We may develop new types of skin pigments, such as melanin, which protects our skin from ultraviolet sunlight on Earth. This could mean that future generations living beyond Earth will have a different skin color. The more melanin you have, the darker our skin. So, Solomon predicts that over time, the skin of people living in space may become darker. But he says these changes could take centuries or millennia, and there will be enough time for many generations of women to give birth to children in space. Birth and early childhood in low-gravity conditions can influence the development of children, both physically and psychologically. For example, a lack of gravitational load can lead to differences in the development of muscle tone and motor skills in children born in low gravity. This can affect a child's ability to control their body, coordinate movements, and develop muscle strength. Additionally, the absence of gravitational force will affect the development of bone tissue and the formation of the skeleton in children. In low-gravity conditions, children may encounter bone and joint fragility, which will make it impossible for such children to live on Earth. Upon arrival on Earth, their muscles will be unable to support the skeleton, and the bones will crumble under the influence of gravity. Ultimately, people living in space may evolve and differ so much from Earth dwellers that we would consider them an entirely different species. I imagine that a child born on Mars in the 10th generation will look something like this. And what do you think? If you enjoyed this video, please like and comment below about what you would like to learn about space. I always read the comments and take your opinions into account. Also, feel free to subscribe to my channel to not miss the most interesting videos about space and life in it. See you in the next video.
Hobblocks.